Yes, sir, I had a very great weekend. Thank you so much.
Nice one. Me a re tswele pele gone jalo tsona podi mstele le moretsi wa rona wa Pillar of ADAPTATION.
Ke dumedisa baretsi botlhe ba Pillar FM. It's nice to have you once more for our motivation for the week. Thank you.
Ra le series re tsabang ka yone ya nong re batla go tla re gombile go tsamela jang series eo rene mo bekeng e fitileng re tshware jala kganya bo adaptation jalo le jalo me ra tshwalela Mr. Mahapi teng ka kwana mo tsatsing la go Mr. Mahapi gombile re tsamaya ka tsela le bogontseng jang.
Last week we touched a little bit on the law of the mind.
The law of the mind, rather, yes.
Yes, so I think I'm gonna add to that, and I'll explain why I'm doing that, because we have some of our listeners that are interacting with me on our platforms.
Nice one.
So they requested that I give a bit more on the law of the mind. So yeah, we're going to deal with that today.
Yes, sir. The stage is yours.
So baretsi botlhe ke a le dumedisa gape. We are going to touch on what we started on last week, the law of the mind, or you can call it the law of the mindset. The reason why I believe this is probably one of the most important laws for us to learn and understand is that we explained last week that every human being is created so that every single organ in the body or every single ligament in the body and cell in the body is linked to what your brain does. So most of the time you will find that a person cannot control their body unless their brain actually is functioning properly. That's why you'll find that many times if a person, they say he's got certain brain cells that are dead in their mind, you'll find that that person can't use certain parts of their bodies because the brain is very important in how the body ultimately operates. Now this becomes very critical because it means that we must also understand that a lot of things that you can do or cannot do is because of your mind. Now, it means you can create an environment around your mind that can limit your ability to do things, or you can create an environment around your mind that gives you the capability to do certain things.
Yes.
And it has everything to do with what is in your mind. And I used an example to say, you see, a person can believe that there are certain things that I can't do, and there are certain things that I can do. And based on what they believe, that's what they will be able to do. And if they choose that they cannot do certain things, I'm afraid of cats. If you are afraid of cats, you are going to remain being afraid of cats until someone teaches you something about cats that makes you realize that there's actually no need to be afraid of cats. Now, what this teaches you is that for a lot of instances, a lot of limitations that you have in your mind, all that they need for you to overcome those limitations is what we call knowledge. Because when you receive knowledge, you are able to have better understanding, and sometimes you can even allay certain fears or certain misconceptions that you might have had in your mind that you think are the reason why you are actually afraid of certain things. Some people are afraid of the dark because for some reason they believe there's ghosts. So when they're in the dark, they're thinking maybe there's something lurking in the darkness that I cannot see. And for as long as they believe that, they are going to always be afraid of the dark. Now, your mind has the ability to make you believe even what is a fallacy or not true, something that is a misconception. If you take it and make it real in your mind, it will become real in your life. Whether true or false. What this means is that means you need to be very careful about what you allow to be information in your mind.
Yes, sir.
Now, it means even when I am reading a book, I cannot be irresponsible when I'm reading a book and consume everything that I'm reading from that book. I need to make sure that I cross-question and I understand everything that I'm reading. I need to make sure that when a person teaches me certain things, sometimes, a lot of people say even when you are at church, because the pastor is the only one that speaks, you are just sitting there absorbing everything they are saying. Look, you have the right to get home and actually go through your notes and check what this person was saying and if it is true or not. Because the information that gets stuck in your head, you take the responsibility for that. You cannot blame people for what is stuck in your head. And that becomes very important. Now, I want to touch on something that I believe also plays a very critical role in this that we are talking about. And this is what I call a mental diet. A mental diet. This is very important because your mental diet determines your mental wellness. It determines also your mental fitness. Now, this becomes important because look at it this way. If you put garbage in your mind, that's exactly what you are going to get, garbage out. Because your mind is like a manufacturing hub.
Yes, sir.
It takes whatever that you throw in there, and it will manufacture and produce after the same kind of the thing that you had put in. That is why we use the term that says garbage in, garbage out. So which means whatever thoughts that I have as a person, I need to make sure that those thoughts are good thoughts. If I keep bad thoughts in my mind, let me give you an example. A person can sell you a house and say, I'm giving you, in fact, I'm not even selling you this house. I'm giving you this mansion for free. But I have a nail on the wall that I don't want you to remove. That nail belongs to me. You can keep the house.
Yes.
But that nail belongs to me. And that person comes every day. And when they get there, they hang a jacket on that nail and they leave. They don't talk to you. They just come in and do what they want and they leave. The next time they come, hang a t-shirt. The next time they come and hang maybe a piece of meat.
Okay.
And they leave that meat for a week and it starts to rot.
Yo.
And when it starts to rot, it attracts flies and it starts growing maggots and it becomes bad and it creates a foul smell in the house.
Yes.
Now, even though you got the house for free, now you are no longer enjoying the house because you have allowed someone else to dictate to you what they can put inside your house. Because they gave you everything except that nail. So that person can come in and hang whatever that they want to hang. But realize that now, that house all of a sudden becomes uncomfortable for you to stay in it. Yes. Why? Because of that nail.
Wow.
Now, this is what it means when you allow people power over you as a person. That when people have the ability to speak into your life to a level where they can dictate how you feel and where your life goes, that becomes very dangerous. Because many a times you'll find yourself in a space where if that person does not carry good things for you, that person is able to ruin your life.
Yo, powerful.
Now, what is good about God is that God gave you a house, but he didn't leave a nail on the wall to say, this nail you will not remove.
Yes,
he
sir.
gave you a house, and he gave you that house for you to decide what goes into that house and what stays and what doesn't stay. Now, many a times we cannot control what goes into our mind. We cannot control the thoughts that we might potentially have many a times. But we have the ability to stop them if it's thoughts that we don't want.
Yes, sir.
And this becomes important because then it means when I'm at the level where I am thinking, it means I can think, but I also have thoughts that can come all of a sudden that I can't control. And when those thoughts come, I need to be responsible enough to know that those thoughts, I can stop them. Now, if you are now generating a lifestyle that allows you to have good thoughts in your minds and you are maintaining good thoughts, what this then leads you to is the next stage where you can say, now I am starting to have what I call imagination. Now, because I know that I can maintain good thoughts, I can start imagining now. Because I am imagining from a good place. I have good thoughts. And when I begin to imagine, I'm imagining, which is an action of forming ideas. You are forming concepts, you are forming ideas, you are forming images in your head. And that's what we call imagination. Some people call it daydreaming, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But if that type of imagination is influenced by good thoughts, what it means now is that you have set yourself up into a journey where your mind has now learned how to filter what is good for you and what is not good for you. Because this is a process, you see, because a lot of us, we come from an environment, watch what you think about. Watch what you say. You can't just talk. You need to be careful. If you have bad thoughts in your head, make sure you remove those thoughts. Don't keep bad thoughts for too long in your mind because they will rot and create an unpleasant smell in your life. Now, when you have learned and now you are saying, I now need to fix my mind, because there are people who are in their lives right now, all that they have known in their lives is hate, anger, bitterness. They've never actually really thought anything good in their lives. And you will find that they find it very difficult to say, how do I start thinking good when all I have ever known was to hate? Was to always suspect people, was to always think there's something wrong that a person has intentions to do. You know, a person always has something bad that they want to do to another person. How do I begin to start thinking properly? Now, how you begin to do that is by starting to deal with your thoughts. Yeah. You start dealing with your thoughts. Some thoughts you can expel. Now, some people say, how do I expel thoughts? If I start thinking and I think something bad, how do I get that thought out of my head? Well, if you can't think something good to expel that bad thought, what you need to do is to talk, because your brain does not work the same time when your mouth is speaking.
True.
And sometimes if I'm thinking something bad about you, the only way to stop my thinking bad about you is to open my mouth and start speaking something good about you. Yeah. So that my brain will pick up what I'm saying as opposed to what it's trying to think.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's important for us to learn that technique, because that technique then allows you that when you are sitting, it does not mean every thought that is in your head has the permission to be in there. Every thought that is in your head only has permission to be in there if you allow it to be in there. If you don't want it to be there, speak against it. Open your mouth and speak something that is opposite to what you are thinking. Then you will begin to start filtering out those thoughts. Now, when you get to that level where you are imagining, now you need to take time as a person. And this becomes very important. That you take time alone where you are sitting and you are imagining good things about yourself. Good things about your life, good things about where you want to go and where you want to end up. And people call it dreaming. You have dreams, you have goals, you have things you want to achieve. That is good. But what we also need to realize is that now there is an element in that same imagination, which is why I was talking about mental diet. You know, when you talk mental wellness and fitness, fitness includes you doing work. To say, I'm going to do certain types of work for me to get to a level where I am fit. Part of you doing that work is what we call self-development, where you now make sure you read materials that allow you to develop in certain areas of your life where you know you are not as strong as you would like to be. Yes, this becomes important because then what you are doing by doing that is to say, I know that I am not a perfect person. I know that I am not a balanced person. So what I need to do is to find out those areas where I am lacking, where I lack ability and skill and technique in those areas, so I can gather information and knowledge. Remember what I said, for you to overcome certain limitations in your mind, you overcome them by accumulating knowledge. Now you will accumulate knowledge, you will read, you will have an understanding of certain things for you to overcome those hurdles and those limits. Yes. Now when you begin to overcome them, you start doing better for yourself. This is when you realize that you are beginning to be fit in certain areas of your life. Now you will find that some people, in as much as that fitness might include reading and equipping yourself mentally, but it might also make you making sure that your physical body is actually healthy. And I have learned that principle when I looked at a lot of billionaires that we know today, that some of them have chronic illnesses. That they made all of this money, but they can't enjoy it anymore because they are sick. And some of them, if you look at the lifestyle going back, you realize when this person was younger, they didn't care. They did whatever they wanted. They thought, I will start exercising when I'm 50. I will start exercising when I'm 40. What they don't realize is that 40 years of damage cannot be undone in 1 year of exercise. And this becomes important to realize, to say, even in your mind, whatever damage, say you are 40 years old today and you now want to fix the way you think. That is 40 years worth of damage that you need to fix. So your level of determination and seriousness towards developing your mind needs to really be on another level. It can't be something that you take for granted and think in a day or two, or going to church once or twice, or listening to a few motivational sessions, you will be okay. It will require you to really seriously put a plan in place that will allow you to develop to a level where you can do better for yourself. Now that undoing requires a person to do a lot of work. This is why I'm saying to you, it's important for you to then learn and say to myself, how do I get myself? I was speaking to one of my friends today on the phone. It's his birthday, actually.
Okay.
It's quite interesting because a lot of people that listen to the show now, it's beyond Kuruman. So I've got people inboxing from Joburg.
Nice one.
I've got people inboxing from Durban and so forth. So in different places, people are now starting to interact. So even Liberatiba Mukurumani, if you can follow us on our social media, you can inbox us, you can talk to us privately. If there are other things you'd want for us to discuss with you, yes, we can discuss and help you where we can.
Nice.
Now, it's important because what he says to me is that he has reached a point, he's 40 years old today. He says he has reached a point where he has now achieved his ideal body size.
Wow.
And he feels that this ideal, these are the type of discussions I have with the people around my life.
Yes, sir.
He has reached his ideal body size. He says, I have more energy in this body than I've ever had in any body size.
Wow.
And he says, now with this energy, I know now in the next 6 months what I have planned to do. I'll be able to achieve because my energy levels are such that he was even talking about lifespan to say, if God allows me to live long with this type of body, I know for a fact that I can increase my life.
Wow.
Now you realize when people start thinking like that, to say, I am not just living healthy because living healthy is an in thing. I can post nicely with good looking food on social media and I look like I'm living healthy and you realize that it goes beyond you being seen living a healthy lifestyle, but it reaches a level where you realize that your life can be a lot more effective. I remember, there was a point where I was 80 kilograms. 80 kilograms. I couldn't even run more than 300 meters.
Wow.
And I think I shared this story with you guys. Now, my energy levels that time were not really something to be desired. Even when I do work, I would get tired, I would get fatigued. I used to sleep 7 to 8 hours just to make sure that I'm rested enough to actually take on the next day. Now it's different because I've reduced my size.
Yes, sir.
My energy is now, I'm enjoying this size.
Sir.
You know, and it's working in my favor because it allows me energy all round, and I can choose when to rest and when not to rest. And I'm not forced by the body to rest when I have to rest because the body is literally just falling apart. And this is really, I think, a very powerful tool that a lot of people can begin to realize, to say, you can choose to live on supplements and do all these other things if you want. But look, ultimately, your body has a way of maintaining itself. If you make sure that you take care of it, you make sure that you give it what it needs, you exercise and generate the right kind of levels in your body. And what's nice about all of that is that your mind becomes more effective. You can remember things, you know, but
Yeah.
and I can tell you now, the healthier your body, the more your brain can still remember even at an older age.
Perfect.
And these things are critical. They are important. The law of the mind. Your mind has the ability to sustain you. Your mind has the ability to keep you living long. And for us, it's important to realize this so that we can start feeding this mind the right things. Spend your time feeding your mind the right things, because when you do that, you are putting yourself where? In the right space. Now, I want to just talk about a few things before I close. Now, achieving your dreams is a function of small steps. Now, a lot of people, what they don't realize is that at that level where you are imagining and you are thinking, people think, don't think big. Because if you think big and you don't get to your dreams, you'll be disappointed. But let me tell you something. You can think, you are allowed to think as big as you want. Because you achieving that big dream is not a once-off thing. Every big dream that has ever been achieved has been an accumulation of a series of small steps that led to the achievement of that big dream. So when you begin to see life that way, to say, every step that I take matters. In as much as my dream is big, I might not achieve it tomorrow, I might not achieve it next year. But every step I take from today moving forward matters. But every little bit of that step brings me to a point where I can be able to achieve a big dream. So planning big does not mean you will always make a big moves every day. You won't make moves. Yes, there will be times where you make big moves and you say to yourself, look, I think now 50% towards my goal. It's good, but that's not always the case. When it happens, yes, celebrate that. But understand that generally speaking, it should be a series of small steps that you take every day. And that should not discourage you as a person. Sometimes you will also have to take small steps and small moves for you to get to where you want to get to. And this becomes important because this should not limit you or should not limit your ability in thinking big and having big dreams in your life.
Yes,
continue to have dreams, but have that reasonability, or rather be reasonable enough with yourself to know that for me to achieve these big dreams, I will have to take a series of small steps. And those small steps are going to take me to where I am going. And I always say to people, any movement is progress, so long as it's in the direction of your goal. Because some people will say every movement is progress. But if it's in the opposite direction and it's an off-ramp and it's a U-turn or it's any of those things, it does not help you. Because it's not going where you want it to go. But if it's movement towards your goal, no matter how small that movement is critical. Now, let me encourage a few people while we are still talking about the law of the mind.
Yes, sir.
I believe that people should have a mentality that says, never give up. Give it one more day.
Never give up. Give it one more day.
You hearing what I'm saying? Never give up. Give it one more day. Okay. Say, for an example, you say to me, Remo, happy, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And I say to you, give it one more day.
Just one day.
Just one more day. I don't have to say to you, give it another year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Give it one more day. The next day you come again and say, I'm still tired. And I say, just one more day. Before you know it, you finish the week with what? One more day.
One more day. Wow.
Because you woke up every day and say, I'm not going to think of Tuesday. It's Monday today. I'm just going to deal with Monday. I'm not going to worry myself about Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to worry about Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to worry about today. I'm going to give it my best shot today. So when you wake up in the morning, you say, yes. And that's why a lot of people end up finding themselves in a space where you experience a lot of stress and depression. It's because you are thinking beyond today. And you are saying next week, next month, next year. And those thoughts begin to overwhelm you.
Yo.
Because you don't have a plan that goes further than that. And when you begin to realize that I don't have a plan that goes further than that, what do? You give up. You throw in the towel, you sit down and say, what else can I do? There's no ways I'm going to achieve what I want. I might as well. And you find now you get easily discouraged because you are not allowing yourself to say, let me do it as far as I can go. And I'll take a break, catch my breath, and carry on the next day. So if you tell yourself that I'm going to take one more day, I'm going to move one more day. If you're on the verge of giving up, I want to say to you, give it one more shot. If you are tired, give it one more chance. And if you're on the verge of walking away from something, one more day. Try one more time. Try one more time. You are not the first person to fail.
True.
There are many people that have failed before, and you are not the last person to fail. Failure is one of those things that I believe are there to teach us. And if failure does not teach you as a person, and it breaks you as a person, that means you did not learn anything from that failure.
Noted.
Every single thing that is bad that you go through in your life, take a moment and sit down and say, what am I learning from what has happened? That's why I said the last time when I spoke, if a person does not learn to take accountability for what happens in their lives, and they are always pointing fingers to say, it's not me, it's so and so. There are a lot of people who blame their parents today.
True.
For their lives turning out the way. And what they don't realize is that some of those parents went out of their way. They did their best to give you what you have. But because you don't see it and you don't know, you have no appreciation for it. But once you get to a point in your life and say, look, life has dealt with me these cards that I have now. The best I can do is to do the best that I can with what I have. And if I have challenges in my life, I will fight. And in the evening when I get back home, I will sit, catch a breath, and I will rest and wake up the next day in the morning when I pray and say, one more day.
One more day. Wow.
And if you give it one more day, I am telling you, you are always going to continue. You are not going to be restricted. You are not going to be limited. And if you can give it one more shot, you can repeat that process over and over again until you get to a point where it is now normal for you to say, I'll keep pushing.
Wow.
You know, I saw a meme this morning and I actually laughed. Someone was questioning this thing that people say on social media that trust the process.
Yeah.
And this person was saying, okay, does the process know that we are trusting it? Yeah. If we keep telling people that they must trust the process. Which is actually an interesting question. Yes. Because now if you say trust the process, what is that process that you have in place? And I am saying to you, part of the process that I apply in my life and the system I apply in my life is the one that says, give it one more day. As hard as it may be, as hard as it might have been throughout your day for that day, and in the evening when you sit down and say, you know, I don't think God was with me today. You can pray in the morning when you wake up the next day and say, I believe today you will be with me. I'll take it for one more day. So I'd like to encourage all the listeners today and say to you, those who kept giving it one more shot, they ended up winning.
Perfect.
And looking back, they realize that every single step they have ever taken to get to where they are actually mattered.
Every single step.
Every single step. Because every step that you take moving forward, you don't see where it's taking you. Sometimes you think it's useless and it's pointless until you stand and look back at every other step you've taken in the past and you realize, oh, I'm actually making progress. And this becomes important. That's why I always say to people, then it means you need to also, in your mind, when you are applying your mind to have all these goals and dreams, always balance what we call balance ambition with fulfillment. We spoke about fulfillment last week. To say people that are aspiring for success, they need to also have what we call fulfillment. Because when you have what we call fulfillment, you are always going, ambition does not get satisfied. And that's the difficulty of ambition. Because ambitious people will always keep on chasing.
Oh, yeah.
They never stop. Now, if you cannot balance that ambition, it means you are always going to live your life not being happy with what you have because you never have time to look at what you have. You are always chasing the next best thing. So when you get this one, you say, what's next? When you get this one, you say, what next? You never actually have the time to sit down and say, how far have I gone? And have an appreciation of how well you've been doing this whole time. So it becomes important to say, yes, I can have goals and be ambitious, but I need to balance my ambition with what we call contentment. Be satisfied with what you have. So that was the law of the mind in summary. And I think a lot of you probably would have gotten quite a bit from it. And whatever works from you from what I've said, please apply it. And one of the things that you will realize are useful, if you are consistent in what you are doing, Even if it's small things that you are doing consistently, it becomes a habit without you even noticing that you are now having it as a habit.
True.
You know, some people have habits today that they don't even know. But because they were doing something so frequent, so consistently, it became a habit and they didn't even realize. So even that thing that is hard for you to do, maybe 10 push-ups every day.
Yeah.
It seems hard until it's a habit. Where if you want to leave the house and you have not done your push-ups, you feel different. You're like, let me do quickly 10 push-ups, because it's part of your system. So yes, the law of the mind. Make sure that every single thing that you put into your head has been censored. And you take full responsibility of what you allow to go into this head of yours. Do not allow people to use your brain as a dustbin. Do not keep a company of people that that don't know how to talk right. People that don't know how to spark that fire in you. You need to be around people that know how to invigorate power in you, how to make you excited about life, how to make you, to make you want to do more for yourself. People that bring the best out of you. It's not all the time that you have to tolerate everyone. There are people you need to tell, to say, right now, at this stage of my life, you are not a very good friend right now. So I'm going to keep away from you, because right now you are counterproductive for me. Because what I need in my life is 1, 2, 3, and you can't give me that. And it's your life. You have the right to make those choices.
True.
But every single morning when you wake up, learn this. I have tried yesterday. It might have not worked, but I'm giving it another shot. I'm giving it another day. Thank you so much.
Nice one. Yoki Mr. Mahapi mantaka mo mo re jalo Monday motivation mo tsing la go berekele bogile thata gore ba tsba re shebile life ka kwa Brian sithibang re le bogile ntate Chifiwa Sinthimule